Okay, so now I'm going to do a value of color drawing using cool colors. So I'm looking at my value of color chart and I'm using this half. So I'm using cool. So again, the warm colors come forward in space and the cool colors go back in space. So I'm doing the equivalent of a color to a gray. Again, this is just practice. I recommend that you use a black and white image when you do it. So I'm using this image by Raphael. So I'm still using the classic Renaissance drawings just because I like them and they're just for exercises. When you do your own art, which I'll do later on, probably a lot later on, because right now we're just doing skills, then you need to be more creative than just using these. So I did a sketch here just to help me get started. And it's kind of a rough sketch. And I'm going to use my cool colors to lock in the shading on this. So again, here we are using color as value. We're understanding which colors are lighter and which colors are darker. We did a warm one and now we're going to do a cool one. And again, this looks kind of weird. You can use it in original drawings and paintings. It's a skill you should have. You can also use it under skin tones or browns to create value instead of using black, white, and gray. You can use either warm or cool. It's something that we're isolating as a skill, but then later you'll use it in your color drawings, realistic or abstract. So I'm going to go ahead and start here on this side of the fabric, and I'm going to get a violet and a dark blue and kind of a lighter blue and a lighter blue and a lighter blue and some greens. I'm just looking at my greens. There's a yellow green. There. I'm going to start with that. Okay, so I'm going to start with my violet and I'm going to start putting in areas. This is kind of a blue violet that are dark. So violet is the darkest color. Yellow is the lightest color. Since I'm working with a dark, I'm trying to be careful about where I'm putting it in to the drawing. And I'm just looking for areas that are darker than other areas. I kind of put in the lines that are helping me realize where those areas are. I could do each part individually, but I'm just coming in and putting in a series of darks to help me get started. And things, again, will need to be corrected. Like the line drawing wasn't perfect. It took me about 20 minutes, and I moved stuff around a lot. I'm still going to be moving stuff around on this layer. I'm just looking at it for a second. I'm going to come in here. There's a lot of variation. I'm just putting in some major areas of dark to get started. I'm kind of making this a little bit bigger. Again, you can use just cool colors or cool with black and white. So this, I I like Renaissance drawings. I like them in terms of using, of practicing portrait and figure. I think they're really good for that with the shading. Just kind of straightening this line out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to come up here for a second and then come back down here. Just because there's certain things that are telling me where other things are. I'm going to erase some of these pencil marks that didn't really get erased. Because I don't want them, I mean, I have some pencil marks that I left on here, but I don't want some of them showing through the colored pencil. Just again, looking for areas that are darker right now. Just getting a start on the shading. You can do something simple or something complicated. I tried to do something a little bit more complicated. All right, I'm just looking. Just really initial phases of a drawing. I'm not really pressing all that hard in case I need to make changes or erase. So again, I'm doing value of color using cool colors. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to come and look on the legs for a second. That needs a lot more work, but I'm just getting started. Or the fabric around the legs, excuse me. Again, you can see the figure through the fabric. So I'm using the chart just to, so I'm looking at the cool side, and I'm just looking right now at a violet, and that's the darkest gray, so I'm putting that in. And when the gray gets lighter, it'll be blue violet, lighter blue green, lighter yellow green. You can add white and black if you want, or you can just leave it at that. And this is actually, this whole area is kind of lighter. So I don't know if I want to use the purple there. We'll see. And this whole side is kind of lighter, except for right here in this shadow area around the arm. So I'm going to put some purple in here. See, this goes a little bit higher. So again, we're shading with pure colors. If you were to do this just as another option and you didn't like the way that it looked with pure colors, you could do the whole thing as a tint, the whole thing as a tone, or the whole thing as a shade. So meaning, I mean, this is kind of just an exercise, but again, if you were going to do like Poseidon or Neptune and you wanted it to be the colors of the ocean, you could use this for shading. But if you thought the colors were too bright, you could add white to everything, black to everything, or gray to everything. All right, so now I'm going to get, I think I'm going to get kind of a medium blue. Let's see what I can do with this. I just want to see how this looks. I may need to add a dark blue in between that, but I'm just kind of putting this in right now and blocking in some areas of color. There we go. That looks a bit better for this lighter area. So you're looking at values of color in relation to each other and probably blending them if you want. But right now I'm just blocking them in. I'm just finding areas that are lighter and darker and kind of blocking in color to help me get started. I'm just looking at the drawing, trying to figure out something. just going to erase this pencil line a little bit. Sometimes you can get lost in the fabric folds. I'm going to get a light green right here for this part that's slightly shaded. Yellow green more. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. We're just trying something out and practicing. Okay, so down here, just looking at this fold right here, it's kind of coming up here. Now it is a little bit darker over here. So I'm going to come back to the violet. Gets a bit lighter right here. Again, this is just kind of a rough blocking in of color. It may need to be corrected, but I want to get something in here to help me get started. And if this is as far as you want to go, then, you know, that can be as far as you go. So I'm going to come back up top. That needs a little bit more work down here. And I'm going to come in again with the blue. So I'm just looking for a gray that's a little bit lighter than the purple. And that's where I'm putting this blue in. I'm not doing a really dark blue because the purple is pretty dark and I want to make something a little bit lighter, so I'm trying to use something that's a bit in between. Sorry, I paused because I was looking at the drawing. You really need to focus when you're doing these things. Some people like it totally quiet. Some people like to have music on. This needs a lot more work. This is just kind of a first layer. I haven't done anything on this side, so I need to focus on that next because I'm doing too much over here. I am just again looking for areas of light and dark. And remember, you can always darken a light area. Like I can always add purple to a blue, but it would be hard to lighten the purple and it would be hard to lighten the blue if I wanted to make it, say, this light yellow green. So just keep that in mind. So again, err on the side of caution when you're going dark, right? You can always make it darker later. Okay, so now I need to work on this side because it's just getting, it looks uneven. So let me get my violet for this area right here. And now I'm looking at the value of this arm. This is kind of a gray, so I'm going to put in the blue here. And there's shading, so there's kind of there's a light and then a dark. I guess we're seeing the bone through the skin. And I'm just seeing which parts of the fingers are darker. It has more sophisticated shading than that. That's just a starting point. Okay, I'm going to get my violet for this angel. It's supposed to be an angel, but I don't see the wings, but that's what it's called. And I'm just going to outline this part of it. The person is holding on to a piece of wood, I believe. Okay. Again, just blocking in areas of value with color. This could be trying to leave a little white showing. And I'm going to get my violet because it gets darker here again. Again, this is not perfect. I'm just doing the best that I can to block in areas of color or of value with color. And I'm going to go with the blue right here. This is the other, I guess, the other knee. That's one knee. I think this is the other knee. That looks a little too big though. I want to change the shape. There we go. So I can get that blue out with the purple. Alrighty, so I need to look at the person's, I'm just getting my regular pencil because I feel like I made the hair, there's more area of neck showing. So just little things, again, when you're doing a drawing, you're always correcting. Okay. So I'm going to come in with some blue right here. Do I want this to be? lower. I'm just trying to get some values in here. Again, corrections can be made later, adjustments. And there's also shading on the face. I'm being very sparing with it. And I'm going to leave that for a second. Okay, so I'm going to get my yellow green and come into the areas that are a bit lighter. And this has to be blended. This is just kind of first layer. Do I want to leave some areas white? That's what I'm trying to ask. I'm probably yes. I don't necessarily like just having the colors. I like to have the contrast of having the white in the image and the black. So now I'm looking here. I'm going to stop soon because I'm almost at half an hour and then I'll continue. It's actually really dark right here. It's coming along. This comes out more. And again, you see how detailed you want to make it for what you're doing. I'm actually we're almost at 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop and restart. I may do some shading in between. Okay, so now I just did a little bit on the bottom. I just added some and a little bit of green on the top, but I'm actually going to come in with a black. And I'm going to define a little bit and then I'll go back to my blending. Define an outline. So this is just a black colored pencil. I started with a regular graphite pencil. So this is a little bit different. And that's really helping me. I like that transition between, I like to go to the contrast of the really dark. I think that makes it look nicer, but you don't have to. I'm gonna probably mess with the hands last because they're a little bit more complicated. This is still the arm right here. Let's see how much definition that gives it. And I'm still going to use my value of color shading, but I just want the black to kind of define. That's a good word for it. And actually do a little bit of the really, really dark shading. It still needs a lot more work. So again, this is a time-consuming process. Even if you do something simple, like a couple of spheres, it's still time-consuming getting the layers and the shading. I'm going to deepen the purple later. And as I'm doing this, I'm also correcting things that are not quite correct. This is by no means perfect. You know, not everything is in the perfect place. But this is just, so like I kind of go through in layers. I go with one color and I kind of go through the whole drawing and just kind of fix what needs to be fixed. But I make adjustments while I'm doing that. Like I'm seeing some things here that need to be, that I haven't really blocked in. So I'm putting those in now. That needs some work in light. Alrighty. It's going to need a bit more blending as well, but see how much that defines it. I'm defining and also outlining. You don't have to. I mean, you might like it better looking like this, right? So it's up to you. And right above here it's dark, so I'm going to put some black in there, kind of blend it up. Is the black too much? I'm trying to figure that out now. But I can't really go back. Kind of moving some certain folds around that I feel like are not totally correct. Just looking for areas of dark, and you see how many layers you could do to kind of make this look correct or right. I'm leaving some areas to shade with color because they're not that dark. So now I'm coming down to the bottom part. It's kind of dark down here but light over here, so I may not include black over here. I'll decide that later. So one thing at a time, I just move through the drawing and just add to it, take away from it, see what I need to do. I'm just looking for areas of dark, and of course the colors still need to be corrected, right? So you just want to see how many layers you want to do. Of course, like if you have time, by all means, spend like 5 or 6 hours on it. I mean, that's what I would like to do, but I mean, I don't want to make the video that long because that's a little bit too much. So I just want to make it long enough for you to get kind of the main idea. But with each layer, it starts looking better. Looking at this bottom part down here, which has darks, and then there's a light up here. But you can see how much time you could possibly spend on this. This is dark as well. Let me get my purple. And the blue, so there's areas that I missed because I was just kind of blocking in areas of color blindly. Okay, so I don't want to ignore, that's the starting point for this. This area is lighter, so I don't know if I'm going to put black in there, but I'm going to come up over here onto this side because I just kind of left this side alone. And just kind of making a shape for the hair. The hair is a little bit undefined. Again, this is a practice thing, so you just do as much as you want. The more you do, the more practice you'll have. And it's kind of dark around the face, but I'll probably do that. There's some hair right here. It's kind of hard to see. This looks like it's another part of the shirt, but it's darker up here. And I'm going to come into the arm with the dark. And over here as well, this is pretty dark. Okay, so now I'm going to, let's come into the hand. It's kind of outlining the fingers. Just like they were with the pencil. Whoops. It's harder to erase colored pencil than pencil, so. Just making an outline of the outfit over here. Okay. I'm going to come up to this hand for a second. So the fingers I treated, again, just as shapes. Like, where does one rectangle meet another rectangle? And then I tried to make them look like fingers. Okay, so now, do I want... I'm just thinking to myself for a second, do I want to put a yellow in it? And I know yellow is on the warm side, but it could still be considered this side for the really light areas. I just want to see how it looks. Yes, I think I do. Just giving it a bit of light to some areas that are not totally white. And then I'm going to get some yellow green for the middle of this. I'm just looking at it, just taking a little. I need some delineation down here, and I'm trying to think, do I want to use a blue or a green? Let me just see what this looks like. Just testing out. So this is a bit of a darker green than the yellow green. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, because I mean, I'm just blocking in colors, but right here it doesn't have any line work, so there is a pro to having some line in here, but I don't want it to be black because it's a lighter area. I want to define, and I'm just using a regular pencil that needs to be dark. And outline. Okay, that looks better. All right, so now I'm going to come here. There we go. All right, so I'm going to come back up to the top. That was, well, let me do a few more greens here. So you can see the body through the clothing. This bottom part needs work, but I want to come back to the top for a minute. Okay. So on this arm, I'm just looking for lights and darks again. It wouldn't be white because it's a light gray, right? So I'm trying to, again, use color as value. It gets a little bit lighter in here. And again, I'm doing it as to try to show you as much as I can in the short time that I have. There's some areas that are a bit darker on the fingers, so I'm coming back into this blue. Again, this could take me a couple hours to kind of get this right. I'm gonna go with this right here. And in here. So like this whole side is like kind of in shadow, and then it gets lighter on this side. And I'm trying to, well, down here it's darker, up here it's a bit lighter. It needs a lot more blending, but I'm doing as much as I can. I'm gonna go yellow right here. Let me erase first because I see some pencil marks. It's kind of lighter right here. And I'm gonna bring in some green. So there's some folds in here, but they're kind of lighter. Okay, now I'm going to come up here with some yellow, but I'm going to erase some of these pencil lines. I'm going to add some green. I'm just blocking all these lights on this part in right here with yellow. The yellow is the complement to purple, so that's going to make a nice contrast. I'm just adding this green in for blending. It needs some work. Like, not all the values are exactly right. I was just kind of slapping on lights, mediums, and darks, right? But it needs a little bit of adjustment. And I'm going to put in some yellow here. And I'm going to bring in some green. I'm going to come into the face with some green right here. And some yellow. Some yellow in the hair. And some purple right here because this hair is darker. I'm not really, I guess, in these drawings I haven't really done anything about background, but I'm just putting them in. And I'm going to come in with, we're almost to 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop and then I'll do like a final. Okay, so now I did a little bit because I thought it would take more than half an hour, but I'm just going to do a little bit more. I put some blue up in here to make it darker, and I worked on the face, and I added some yellow to this area. And I'm going to I haven't really focused on the bottom part. I mean, you could leave the drawing like that. Whenever you feel like the drawing is finished is when it's finished. But I might just do a little bit more to this just to try to kind of fix it up a bit. So I'm going to focus. I actually also, yeah, let me just focus on the bottom right now. Because this looks a little bit undone to me. Again, you could leave it like that, but I'm going to come down here for a second. And I'm just looking for areas that are darker, because I was going really light because it is lighter, but it gets a little darker down here. So I'm just trying to get the correct values in. Again, it's never perfect. Just a little bit more kind of messing with it. Again, I could do this for hours, but just trying to make it a little bit more realistic. Just pushing this up a bit. go, I know I'm moving around, but I'm going to bring yellow up in here. Just trying to see what's going on right here. Okay. It's kind of a dark that I kind of didn't really put in. Or define. I'm just darkening this blue. So again, I could go over this whole thing, again, just darkening the colors I put down. Because remember, I was kind of trying to be cautious when I was putting the colors down because I didn't want to mess them up. And I'm going to go darker right here. This is too light, so I'm just getting like a royal blue. I put in some royal blue up here, in between. Okay. And see what's going on right here. I'm going to put some royal blue right here, right along this fold. There's a dark that's kind of coming out of the fold. I'm getting my yellow green. There's some very light shading here. So I'm leaving some areas white. That needs a little bit of work. But I'm going to come down here with a violet. See if I can erase that colored pencil right there. Oh, I did. So you can erase, it's just a bit harder. Okay. I'm just trying to kind of solidify this area. Okay, let's see how this looks. There's a lot more blending. I mean, again, I'm not going to make this 5 hours, but there's a lot more blending that I could do on the whites of the fabric. But I just don't have time at this because we're doing value of color right now. Maybe I'll make a video on that later. Okay. Just looking for areas of light and dark. Okay. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not, I mean, it's definitely could use more work, but I'm gonna come back into the drawing with a deep, right now, I'm gonna come in with a deeper purple, a darker purple. Just to enhance some of that dark purple, because the purple I used again was too light. So just darkening some of the purple areas because they're lighter than some of the other areas. And I don't want to go too far and mess it up, you know. I just like this area. Let me come in here with the purple. There's a couple of areas that are kind of bothering me, so I'm gonna try to fix them. And like this is a dark, so what I mean is like this value is too dark in the picture to be a light green, so I'm gonna add my light blue. So I'm kind of alternating the value, the value that the color that I picked for value, right? Sometimes that's off, so you have to be willing to make adjustments for that, right? Like this part is really dark. I'm going to do that here too, because this part over here is pretty dark, right? And that light yellow green is too light of a light to be over here, right? Because I want the correct relationship between values, even though I'm using color, right? If that makes sense. I'm going to do it here too. There are some areas that are lighter right here, but I'm just trying to get the correct like ratio of light areas to dark areas. Like if that, I hope that makes sense. And this area right here is bothering me. It doesn't look quite finished. here. So you just work through the drawing one layer at a time, one step at a time, one color at a time, and you see where that goes. This is this. Okay, let me get the purple. Again, this could use like a couple more hours, but just trying to get you the idea of value of color here. But like there's a lot of little things that I could blend and adjust. I mean, I think it looks pretty good, but you know, again, it could use you just take your time and you keep working on it. And you can take breaks. I know these are long sessions that I'm doing, but you can take a break for a day or a couple hours and come back to it. Okay, so I'm just going to go look at this area right here. Just trying to define some of these folds a little bit more with this turquoise. Bring this kind of shading up so these folds kind of fade into the shading. That looks better. And you know what? I feel like, let me see the face. I feel like if I do anything else on this, I'm gonna totally mess it up. But I might do a little bit more shading on the facial area. Not much. I feel like I've done kind of almost as much as I can. And again, I don't want to mess it up. That's not really a detailed face, it's just kind of going with the figure. All right, so there's my drawing. I mean, it's not perfect, it could use a couple more hours. You know what? Of course, I see something else that I think needs to be fixed. So I'm going to come up here. I feel like this needs to be darker right under. But anything that you could do, I mean, the reason I was sparing with this is because anything you could do could mess it up. Okay. And I think I'm going to leave it alone. So that is the Cool Colors value of color drawing. I'm going to stop it here.